A few things have been made evident by the start of the season for the Chicago Bulls, and that is that this core group of players is still trying to figure it out. And we're going to talk about why that is so concerning for this team to still be trying to figure it out after the third year of this team being together. We're going to talk about that. Plus, we're going to preview the game tonight against the Indiana Pacers and dive into the mailbag. We're going to get into all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every single social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the content for today. And so this is an episode that I did not expect to be making 3 games into the season, right? And talking about why the team just does not have the balance that's needed to really, excel, right? And so DeMar DeRozan saying this is this kind of quote that got me thinking on this. He said this: "Nights we show individual ways of it working, but as a collective, we're still working to find balance for not just us, but for the team." Now, that wouldn't tend to be extremely concerning because that is something that you do want to hear. You want to hear a team that's trying to strike balance between all members of the team. We talked about it, right? Getting the other role players involved, that was something that DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Nikola Vucevic have to do at a high level. But the fact of the matter is that this team has looked like absolute dog crap to start the season. Our offense is completely and utterly stagnant. In a lot of ways, our offense looks worse than what it did at the worst times in the last couple of years. It looks worse than that because we just are not able to get a shot. We can't make a simple entry pass consistently. This team is a bunch of players moving individually and not as a collective. And again, that is highlighted a little bit as well by the lack of off-ball movement from this team, but it just is what it is. And while the team is getting up more three-pointers, we're not hitting them at a high clip. Heck, we're not shooting at a decent clip at all to start the season. Everything right now is a struggle for the Chicago Bulls. And the thing that a lot of teams have, right, and the thing that really stands out with the Chicago Bulls as far as it being so bad is that teams create easy buckets, right? We've seen the worst teams in the league create easy buckets by simple ball movement and just as operating as a team. The Chicago Bulls are not doing that. To start the season, keep in mind, to start the season, the Chicago Bulls are dead last in the NBA in field goal shooting percentage. Dead last, again, in the NBA in field goal shooting percentage at barely being above 40%. They were 39%, but they are slightly now above that at 40%, still the worst in the league. The Chicago Bulls are also one of the worst teams as far as three-point shooting percentage in the NBA yet again. Now, we're 28th in the NBA, so we're not dead last, right? But again, when your offense can't even generate easy buckets, because we don't. Everything that the Chicago Bulls have to get right now is made more difficult by the fact that we just aren't operating as a team. And while, that like I said, that's hugely concerning, at some point you have to start asking yourself, as the people running this team, is what's going to happen, right? Zach LaVine even saying this: "We've been here long enough. Shoot, Vooch has even been traded. I've been traded. DeMar's been traded. We understand the business. We care for each other. You understand what's on the other side of that. You can care for each other all day long, but you're not playing for each other." And that's the thing that's evident with this team. And I'm not going to blame it on any one aspect because every player on this team has been guilty of something that has made this offense absolutely suck. And you got to start asking yourself this: how much longer will Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley watch this team struggle before realizing it's time to mix it up? Now, again, is there time to turn it around? And do I expect AK to give this team time to see what they really look like for at least 15, 20 games? Yes. But I tell you what, at the end of that 15, 20 games, right, which at that point is 1/4 of your season basically, at that point you have to start at being ready to start finding answers to the question by making tough decisions. And while I think a complete blow up, a complete rebuild like some fans are calling for is still not likely to happen, a retooling is probably the best thing that's going to happen for this team. And by a retooling, I mean you got to try to move some of the parts that aren't working and bring in parts that are working if you're going to still try to be this team that is winning, that's going to try to win now and also try to develop and not go full tank, right? And again, I don't expect it going full tank. Rarely works, right? But Some teams it does. Shout out to Victor Wembanyama down there in San Antonio making it work, even though he just got blown out, right? But like at some point, you have to make a tough decision. And if you keep trying to tread water by not really making a big splash, then your team is just going to continue to go down. Every year that this team stays relatively the same and teams get better, you are netting less, right? Because other teams are improving around you. And I understand the hesitation. I understand that we saw that flash of this team working for 35 games when Lonzo Ball was here, and you can try to convince yourself we just need to get back to that. How are we just going to get back to that balance? But I tell you what, Lonzo was such a unique player. Is he a star-level player? No, he has not been over his NBA career. But he was such a unique player, a mix of exactly what this team needed as far as shooting, defense, communication on the defensive side of the ball, that you're not going to find that mix probably in anywhere else outside of a very few players in the NBA. So what's next? That means you have to try to be willing to mix things up. And so especially with DeMar being a expiring contract, hell, even if it means Vooch, right? Now, if it means trading Zach, I think that is gears more towards a full rebuild, because then you're probably just bringing in another player over 30. But hey, you never know, right? But James Harden isn't coming to fix this team and should not. But this team should absolutely look at again, watch what happens. And if this team starts showing signs of pulling it together, cool. Take this episode away, ball it up, throw it out the window. But if it does not, which it does not seem, we have not seen very much data that shows that this team is going to be able to meaningfully turn it around with the makeup of players that are on this team and the coach, right? So you got to be willing to do something. If you're going to bet on the roster, the coach has to change. Now, we know that that's probably not likely because his contract extension hasn't even kicked in yet. But you have to start asking yourself, like Zach LaVine is saying it. Zach LaVine, your max level player, who, again, has not played like a max level player throughout all 3 games. I will give him the Detroit Pistons game, even though some more casual fans are trying to take the fact that he didn't have an assist in that. His players couldn't hit a goddamn shot to save their lives, right? But when Zach LaVine is saying we've been here long enough and immediately then goes to the fact that your core 3 have all been traded, that is Zach LaVine's way of telling you guys it's time. It may be time. And I think Vooch said it best coming into the season. This was the last run for this team, and this last run is looking like a horse that needs to be put down because it's struggling, right? And so we're going to start seeing, do we have a front office that is willing to make the tough decisions to truly improve this team? Or are we going to see a continued front office that is just treading water, hoping to get by? And that's something that you really have to ask yourself. How much longer can you keep allowing or waiting for this core group of 3 players and this coach to turn it around, right? That must mean also making tough decisions on some of the young players here. I get it. AK and Eversley do not want to see another young player go to a different team and develop there. But I tell you what, I get it. You hired your player development staff. Kudos to you on that one. But something has to change here. If this again, this is all under the framework. If this continues, am I saying right now AK should be on the phone to make all these moves 3 games into the season? No, he should not. But if this continues, if we continue down this path and this offense, like, listen, we should be 0-3 right now, right? We won, especially when the ref report came out. We shouldn't have won that game. Now, there are some other situations where we should have been in games, but at the end of the day, this team could very easily be winless. And the one win that we have out of the 3 games that we played, DeMar DeRozan had to absolutely put that team on the back, and we needed a last-minute bucket from Alex Caruso to seal the win. We'll see, man. 3 games in. Let's see where we are, 15, 20 games in. But at that point, the voices that are loud on what the Bulls need to do and wanting to see change may be even louder, and we'll see how AK and Eversley respond. Now, today we do face off against not the Detroit Pistons. I don't even want to see them again. Against the Indiana Pacers. And so this is another team, much like with the game against Detroit, but they're better, right? They are better on paper. Now, Detroit may end up being good this season. I want to go ahead and throw that out there as well. Detroit may end up being damn good this season. We'll see. We'll see how that happens, how that shakes out. But we are facing a team in the Indiana Pacers that right now are the best 3-point shooting team by percentage in the NBA. What has been one of the Bulls' biggest weaknesses? Defending the 3-point line. The Indiana Pacers come into this game and into today being the best 3-point shooting team in the NBA. Again, by percentage. I don't know if by volume, I have to look at that, but they are hitting their 3-pointers at 43% so far over the course of the season. They are also leading the NBA in 3 points made per game so far on this young part of the season. What does that mean? That the Bulls are in for a long night. Now, be it the Pacers have won 2 games, they are 2-0 in those games as well. But you're coming against a team that has dogs, absolute dogs on this team. You look at Tyrese Halliburton averaging 20 and 12 so far on the young season, right? You look at Ben Mather now starting for this team, averaging 15 points per game. You also got Miles Turner averaging 15 and 10 on this team so far, right? This team has people all up and down the roster that can absolutely fill it up. When you look at their players so far, Tyrese Halliburton averaging 20. Aaron Naismith averaging 16 and a half. Miles Turner averaging 15 and a half. Ben Mather averaging 15 and a half. Bruce Brown averaging 15 and a half. Jalen Smith averaging 13 points and 7 rebounds is Jalen Smith so far on this season, and he hasn't started a single game yet. That's coming off the bench for this team. And then Buddy Hield rounding it out with 12 points per game. Listen, this is not a team that you can come in here and play that lollygagging ass defense if you want to be able to win it. This team is going to have to dig in and find a way to win against a team that has balance on both sides of the ball. They are no slouches defensively either. Are they amazing defensively? I wouldn't say that, right? But they are a team that's going to be active on you defensively, and that's something that you also have to look at, right? So it's not going to be easy for the Bulls by any stretch of the imagination. Let's be clear here. It's not going to be easy for the team. Now, the Indiana Pacers do have their faults as well. They're not a perfect team right now, right? They are averaging, as far as opponents' points per game scored, they're 21st. They are allowing 116 points per game over the course of those 2 games. Now, they've been outscoring those teams because they're 2-0. But when you're coming in allowing a team 116 points per game, you can do some work. Now, the Bulls aren't that far behind them. We are allowing less than 115 points per game. So what this means is that this can turn out to absolute drag out game, right? And who's able to kick it in a different level defensively is probably going to be the one to take away the win in this game. So we gotta perform better. We can't keep coming in and being the team that is just playing this bad. Also, by the way, the Chicago Bulls are allowing the best field goal shooting percentage by opposing teams. Opposing teams right now against the Chicago Bulls are averaging shooting 51% from the field, 51%, and almost 40% from three-point range. That is what the Chicago Bulls are allowing other teams to shoot against them right now. The defense has to stand up against this young team that is coming in trying to kill you, right? The Indiana Pacers are trying to make their move not only in the Central Division, but in the playoff race for the Eastern Conference this year with the moves that they've made. And yet another team that the Chicago Bulls were better than last year per record, right, is another team that you now could be looking up at as being a team that's better than you. And so this is going to be a big test for the Bulls. Execution again. Can you shoot the ball more effectively? Digging in defensively. Do you play and move better as a team, as a unit, right? Limit the turnovers because this is another team you do not want to allow to get easy second chance points against you. Can the Bulls do it? I mean, that remains to be seen. I'm in the point where now they got to show me. I'm not predicting. You guys know I don't predict wins and losses. I never have. Over the 2.5 years of this show, I don't predict wins and losses. I just talk about what the Bulls can do to make a win easier. Let's see if they do that tonight against the Indiana Pacers. Now, you guys have been going off in the voicemail box, so we're going to have another mailbag today. We don't usually do them on Mondays, but I'm sure with more games coming, more voicemails are coming, so I'm going to try to trickle these in where I can. We got 5 voicemails to get to on the back end of this show. This one's from Shay.
What's up, Haize? This is Shay. I left a lot of voicemails about this, but I'm seriously convinced that Kobe White does not need to be in the starting lineup. Now, look, I'm not saying that he's a bad player and all, but look at how the team is constructed. You already have 2 dominant ball handlers in Zach and DeMar, and Booch barely gets his touches. And yet we don't have no playmaker in that starting lineup. Now, I understand what you're going to say. Well, this, that, and this, whatever. But I feel like this. This is a perfect example of why people like Ben Gordon always came off the bench with Kurt Heinrich and Derrick Rose. You need balance in the starting lineup, for example. Another example, I know these teams are much better than the Bulls are right now, but the Oklahoma City Thunder. Why do you think Thibaut Cephalosha always started over James Harden, even though James Harden was a much more superior player? Because when you have Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, you can't have another scorer in there like James Harden, who, although sets his teammates up, but does the exact thing just like Russell Westbrook. And when you have three players in the starting lineup like we do, but does the exact same thing, it kind of clashes a little bit. Think about it. Look at our bench. Our bench is great defensively, but in the way struggles to score. So I think Kobe White definitely needs to come up off that bench. And even if you do put Torrey Craig in the starting lineup over Patrick Williams, it doesn't help because at the end of the day, Torrey Craig is basically the only good defender in that starting lineup. So I think that maybe you might consider putting Io back in that starting lineup, or maybe putting Alex Caruso, or maybe Javon Carter, because I feel like with their skill sets, they help DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine more times than not, especially with us not having that much defense in the starting lineup. Now look, call me stupid or whatever, I don't care, man, but I feel that this could definitely help. And then you'll see a lot more different changes. I know a lot of people are going to say coaching and whatnot and maybe, but I think this will help. Anyway, tell me what you think. Peace.
Kobe White doesn't need to be in the starting lineup. I get what you're saying as far as balance, right? Now, you did say that Ben Gordon, he came off the bench. Let's be clear here. Ben Gordon's last season here, he did start next to Derrick Rose, and it was one of his best seasons. Actually, Ben Gordon's two best seasons of his NBA career both came when he started. Now, again, that's neither here nor there. Just wanted to point that out. I do think, like, if we had more of a facilitating point guard, I think that. But even Javon Carter hasn't looked the best. Maybe you can convince yourself to maybe start Alex Caruso with defense, and if he can shoot the ball well, Kobe can come off and really do more ball handling and have more things go through him. But at the end of the day, I don't think Billy Donovan is going to change the starters outside of maybe P. Will, just because of how bad P. Will has played anytime soon. And you shouldn't, right? It shouldn't be, once you bet on your starting lineup, you should give that starting lineup a few games to figure it out, right? And it'll be different if it was just one player struggling. This team is struggling as a whole right now. So, you know, it may get to the point to where you do want to do something drastic with your starting lineup, and I'm not saying that that may not be needed eventually, but I don't know if he does it right now. Now, Kobe White, to his credit, you know, he's playing a different role, as he has almost every season in the last 3 years. He's come into a different role. I've seen flashes of Kobe being kind of what we need there, but keep in mind, he's not going to be Lonzo out there. He's just not, right? And so you have to play differently. And one of the things that we haven't done is just spread the ball around well and play from the inside out. So astute point on you, Shay, on this one. I'm not saying that I'm against it. I just don't know if, A, we have the players coming off the bench, and if Billy Donovan wants to change that mix up quite yet. But it could be down the pipeline. You never know. All right, let's get into the next voicemail. This one's from Cornelius.
Hey, man, it's Cornelius, man. You know, you scratch that last voicemail I left, you know. Yeah, man, I can't defend P. Will no more. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. 21 minutes is 0-1. Unacceptable. In 3 games, I just don't get it, man. I just don't get it, man. I had so much, you know, so I thought that he was going to be, you know what I'm saying, something, man. Something. All-star something. As you can hear, man, I'm really distraught, man. Like I watched this goddamn game with my boy, got the Detroit fan, and, you know, he was just clowning, talking all his little funk ass bullshit, too. But, I had the right to pick my motherfucking mouth and say, P. Will is better than K. Cunningham. I am so sorry, Mr. K. Cunningham. Please accept my apology. I was wrong. Another thing is the coaching. Just the whole team as a whole, man. It's like, was the sport books right? Was these writers right? Is we really going to win 36.5 games? Like, I was never really on blow it up shit, but if that's the case, what the fuck is we doing this shit for? Like, I just don't understand it. I don't get it. And at this point, I'm done. I'm already done. And I know it's short. I said we played 3 games in, but it looks like it's going to be the same ass shit. It looks like it's going to be a long ass season, y'all. A long fucking season, y'all. Again, with the same fucking bullshit. I'm just tired, man. Just tired of it. We don't deserve this as a fan base. I got one more question for you, Haize. What do you think if we do have a head coach? I know Pat said somebody, but I think a good candidate, and if I'm wrong, tell me if I'm wrong. I think a real good candidate should be Brian Shaw. So tell me what you think about that. Bring in Brian Shaw. Blow this whole fucking team up after this year. Bring in Brian Shaw and start from scratch. All right, man. Thank you for the great content again, man. Again, man, I apologize, Bulls Nation. I'm telling y'all to be patient. Nah, fuck this. This shit was unacceptable. P. Will just unacceptable. Bless us, T-Red Nation.
The coaching issue. Coaching is clearly an issue with this team. Having this team prepared or lack thereof preparation is definitely something that's being evident as well. Like, we're giving up 51% shooting so far as a team. We're giving up to opponents 51% shooting in over as an average over 3 games. That is scary, right? There's not usually teams that are able to be that bad and that turn it completely around. Now, again, it's a young part of the season. We've seen flashes of this team playing better defensively, but right now, coaching is definitely an issue. The team as a whole is an issue. The balance on the team, the working together as a team, the going through adversity, the giving up on yourself, all that is a valid issue with this team so far this season. And it sucks. It sucks to be here 3 games into the season where we're having so much doubts about this team just desiring to compete and the fit of a team that's primarily been together for 3 years. That sucks, fam. There's no other way to cookie cut around that. It sucks. Man, maybe it's a turning point tonight against a division opponent in the Indiana Pacers. Maybe. Let's have some hope for that one. All right, let's get into the next voicemail. This one's from Michael Korn.
Hey, Haize, Mike Korn here. I listened to both mailbag episodes this weekend. Love the callers. I agree with Auntie about this being the Chicago bullshitters. It's the same shit as last year. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. We saw Cade Cunningham, and then before that, SAG. The Bulls couldn't contest either of them. They couldn't play. They couldn't defend against either. I'm not sure what it's going to take for the Bulls to turn it around, but man, they seem really lost. They seem lost out there. I like Javon Carter, but he seems lost. I just like, two questions I have. Do they have any kind of game plan in your estimation? Secondly, I forgot what actually my second question was. Sorry about that. But anyway, actually, remember, at this point, what would you cite are the Bulls' strengths? I just like, at this point that they could actually find something positive and build upon. But anyway, and would love to hear what your thoughts are. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Shout out to Michael Korn. So your 2 questions. Did the Chicago Bulls have a game plan? I'm sure they had a game plan. Was it a good game plan? No. Did they execute the game plan well? It doesn't seem like it, right? But maybe the game plan was just cheeks, right? That's a complete possibility in this as well. So at the end of the day, yes, I'm sure they had a game plan. I don't think any team comes in, even the worst teams, and don't have a game plan. But the fact of the matter is, when you're facing off against a coach, or any coaches that are better than you at the X's and O's, your game plan can look like Dookie. And that's what we're seeing from the Chicago Bulls. The game plan, if there is one, has looked like Dookie. That just is what it is, right? And then as far as what are the Bulls' strengths, I have no idea, Michael Korn. Shooting definitely isn't one of them. Defense hasn't consistently been one of them, right? Depth, maybe that's one of our strengths. But again, you can have all the depth in the world. If you're not winning games, how deep really are you, right? So I have no idea what the Bulls' strengths are right now. I wish I can come out here and give you one. If anyone, is that we should be able to have more balance, right? We should be able to do that. But at the end of the day, I even if I said like the bench unit is played pretty strongly, but how strong is it? I don't know what the Bulls' strengths are right now. We need to identify that. Hell, we don't even have an identity yet as a team for the 3rd year in a row. That sucks. So, hey, listen, I hate to be the Debbie Downer on this one, Michael Korn. You know, I usually try to see the glass half full, but this so far has sucked for the Chicago Bulls. Let's hope that we can turn it around. All right, let's get into the next voicemail. This one's from 8 Lives.
Be like on the positive side with the players, but I gotta admit, man, I've been riding with Boots this whole time, but Boots looks slow and old out there, bro. Prime example, the way the Detroit Pistons was just jumping up over and grabbing those offensive rebounds. I'm not blaming Boots for none of that. I'm just saying he looks old. He looks old. He's missing a lot of close to the basket shots. We've seen him do this before and then come back. I'm just going off what I see. I could see that once Kobe made that pass, I think he was trying to make a pass to Boots, and it was a turnover. After that, Zach started playing point guard in this game. Kobe looked at a little. He didn't play the same game that he played 2 games before. I would try Drummond and Craig in the starting lineup as a coach, even if it's just to piss Vooch off and get him to play better. He has to make a move like that. We need to see a different lineup. I need to see a different lineup starting. I would need to see that. I would like to see Kobe, DeMar, Zach, Drummond, and Craig. Let me get the best players, man. Fuck all this
keep getting making this much and all that. I don't care about all that technicality. Let me see this team start. They look young. They grabbing boards. I like the way Drummer grab boards. I just want to see that. Other than that, I need the coach. I'm not putting on C-Red. The goddamn season ain't over. They can still bounce back, but we need to make some lineup changes, man, just to see what it do. God damn, what type of prestige? It's not like we some type of prestigious team. We just got to stick with it. Man, fuck that. We need to get Drummond and Craig in the start lineup and let them play. 'Cause I don't think our bench that messed up. I just think we need to rotate these lineups and see what we can get. I ain't saying that's a full answer, but at least try, man. I like Craig and goddamn Drummond energy. He is.
Try Drummond and Craig out there. Listen, no spacing. And I get what you're saying, right? But spacing apps, like we're already a team that people are packing it in against, and I don't think having Drummond out there now. Torrey Craig, I think definitely can get in the starting lineup because he can space some. I mean, listen, I don't think that Billy Donovan's going to bench Vooch for Drummond because, listen, Drummond also has his own issues. Yes, he does a lot more of the flashy and gritty work, and especially he does a lot of the things Vooch does not do. But he also doesn't do the things Vooch does well that help this team kind of have a little bit more balance offensively. And again, like I said, much like with Shay's, I'm sorry, I think that was Cornelius's voicemail. I don't know if we see that drastic of a change quite yet, but one could definitely be coming down the pipeline. Let's get into the last voicemail. This one's from Marcus.
Hey, what's up, Haize? It's Marcus. It's been a minute since I called in, but I wanted to chime in on the first couple games from the Bulls. And I don't even know what to say. Like, I really don't know what to say. I tuned into all your videos. I tuned into especially your video, your live after the game last night. And I completely agree with everything you said and the way you got on the Bulls and just the hilariousness that you was able to get on them. But besides that, this Bulls team, I don't even know what to say no. We are literally seeing the same things that we saw last season, and it's crazy. And the thing is that they promised us so much that they improved the roster, that they got better, that they addressed the things that they that was the problem from last season, and it's still the same shit. It's still the same thing, and it's irritating as a Bulls fan because I literally pay for cable just to watch the Bulls, and it's like I can't even enjoy the games when we're not playing the best basketball that we can. It's terrible. If you look at the difference from these last 3 games, in the first game we saw ball movement. I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's a perfect game. I'm not gonna try to say that those shots that we took was they was bad shots. Those shots that we took was good shots. We just couldn't hit them. We was moving the ball was moving. They was trying to find new ways to score in that first game. We saw a little bit more aggressiveness, but going against a young, athletic Oklahoma City team, you're not winning that with the lineup that we got. We don't have that team to go against an OKC team like that who is at an all-time high this season. But last night, sat here and looked at last night. People talk about Patrick Williams and the aggressiveness with Patrick Williams, it's always aggressiveness with this team. And we didn't even give Patrick Williams the amount of looks that he got in the first game. He had 8 points in the first game on 10 attempts, but last night he only took 3 attempts. Zach LaVine was carrying the Bulls. And it's like we can't have consistency with the team. It's always a different style of play when we play basketball. It's never the same style of play. We got one person that's ISOing the ball. We got one person that want to chuck up shots. We got Kobe White that hit 0 points yesterday. It's like we can't have any consistency. And it's like, I don't understand what is going on with this Bulls team because I know it goes all the way up to coaching. It goes all the way up to the personnel on the team. It's everything. And it's terrible as a Bulls fan. These are winnable games. The Pistons, they're a team that's up and coming. They're not a scrub. They're not scrubs by any means, but they're an up-and-coming team. And it's like, this is why.
Completely agree with what most you said. This start of the season has sucked for the Bulls. And it's just not, it's a lot of they're doing it a little bit differently, but it's the same results. And I think that's what makes it even more scary to me, is that when you are doing things differently, and I can tell from the X's and O's, I can tell that they're trying to do things differently, but it's the same exact result. To me, that points to something needs to change with coaching or something needs to change with the roster if this continues. And so it's been definitely a tough start to the season for the Chicago Bulls. They've looked like crap all up and down the roster. Everybody has had their part. It's not even one of those things where we can say, hey, these three players are playing really good. Like each one, throughout a game, there's been a player that's played good. Torrey Craig definitely shined in the first game. The 3Cs generally played pretty good in that second game. The third game for the Chicago Bulls, it was Zach LaVine, right, and DeMar picking their spots. But like other than that, it's just everybody has shown their flashes of struggle so far this season, and let's hope that they can get it all together to perform better. But right now, it's not looking good, man, and they haven't shown much reason to think they're going to be able to turn it around. So it's been a tough start for sure. 79 games left in the season, more than enough games to turn it around. And let's hope rather that if it's the team figuring it out, or if it's AK finally pulling the trigger on something, that we have a more clear direction by the end of this season. Let's hope so. But that's my time for today, guys. Make sure you guys are following the channel at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.